It's the sixth week of Macmo Literacy. It's Unit 1, so we're doing academic vocabulary, and we're doing soft skills this week. I'm Miss Matt Mullen. Keep watching. You want to know what a soft skill is? I can tell. First, we're going to talk about skills in general. So a skill is something that improves over time. Practice, 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 etc. Something that you can become a master at. So you might be a skilled guitar player. You might be a skilled plumber. You might be skilled at parkour or knitting, carpentry. All of these things you can get better at over time. And it's quite cool when you think about it, that you can just... It's like you're a blank slate, and then you can pick all of these different superpowers that you can have and build yourself into a super skilled person. Now, these are all amazing. Skills are amazing, but they are limited. So knitting is great if you want to make a blanket or a jumper, but it's not so great at the gym, obviously. And it's great being able to plumb a toilet, but in your GCSE maths exam, not so useful. No, people would look at you strangely if you just pulled out a toilet. So there are these other skills, these magical ones, that you can use in different places, that you could use both for making a jumper and in your GCSE maths exam and at the gym. They're called transferable skills, and we also call them soft skills. These are things that are desired in all areas of life. So your future bosses will want to see these things in you, and your teachers will want to see them in you. And you'll want to see them in yourself because they will help to push your life to the best that it can be. So we're talking about 3 of these today: motivation, communication, and collaboration. And let's just begin, shall we? So what is motivation? Well, its definition is a reason or reasons for acting or behaving in a certain way. You may recognise that there's a similar word in there, motivation, the first bit, motive. Now, when a detective is trying to find a criminal, they first think about what potential motive they could have. What would be their reason? And motivation's the same, except you don't have to be committing a crime. It's not just criminals who feel motivated. Sometimes teachers or parents will try to motivate you to work harder. They'll try and explain to you why you should care, what motivations you should have. But really, the most successful motivation comes from within yourself. There are some things in life that we have to do. So you have to go to school, you have to do your homework. You may not think that you have to do your homework, but you do actually have to do your homework. You have to pay taxes when you're older and you have a job. These are the things that you can't get out of. Your motivation is, I have to do it. But you have other motivations in life, because otherwise you'd just be like lying slumped against a wall for the rest of the time, not doing anything. That would be rubbish, right? Now, sometimes our motivations are hunger. Often, that is why I leave the sofa. Sometimes our motivations are greed or the desire to look cool in front of our friends. Sometimes we are motivated by the desire to be a better person or help people in the world. Sometimes we want money or fame. There's lots of different reasons. Some of them, as you can see, are very nice, and some of them are a little bit shallow, but they all share one thing in common. It's those things that are going to get you up from being slumped against that wall. Otherwise, you're just going to stay there forever. Other people telling you that you should be motivated can only go so far. So it's really important that we all find our own motivation, and there's lots of ways that we can do this. You might not think that, say, studying maths is something that is a driving force in your life right now, but maybe you want to live in London and actually you need that maths grade to get into a college or university that will allow you to do that. Maybe you think that French is just super hard work until you watch Emily in Paris, and then you think, well, actually, no, I'm going to move to Paris and be super cool and work in fancy businesses, PR, whatever, that stuff. Maybe you just really want to show off and be good at something. Whatever your motivation is, that's fine. That's your motivation. As long as you're not hurting anyone, that's okay. You just need to find something that will get you going. One really good way to figure out your goals and find yourself some motivation is the 10-10-1 technique. So you think about what you want your life to be in 10 years. No holds bars, anything that you want, just who do I want to be? What kind of a person do I want to be? What do I want my life to be like? Where do I want to be living? What car do I want to be driving? Etc, 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 right? You pick your perfect life in 10 years' time. Then you think of 10 things that you would have to achieve to get there and like how you would do it. And then you think of one of them that you can work on for the next, say, year or so, right? And then you just go through them bit by bit. So, for example, if you want to be a super successful DJ in Berlin in 10 years' time with a sports car and lots of adoring fans, then some things that you might have to do is, well, get a driving license or else you can't have the sports car. You're going to need to get into a college that is really good for music, so getting the entry requirements for that, and also learning loads about music, because you don't just want to get in, you want to be the best, so you want to learn lots about music, specifically your genre, but others as well. You want to learn to create your own music and find your own style, that's a factor. Learning German would be a good one because you want to live in Berlin, and so on and so on and so on. So you're breaking down your dream into more manageable goals, and then you can think about when you're going to work on each goal. So that could be a way of finding motivation, and it might be a way of helping you to get focused in your subjects, because you might start to see where they will be able to help you. This brings us to our next word, which is collaborate. Now, it comes from the Latin words col and labor, and the combined Latin term collaborare, maybe? I don't know, something like that. The col bit means together, and the labor bit means work. You'll see that in loads of all other words, you know, like labor literally means work. There's laborious when something isn't fun, it just feels like boring hard work. You can say to elaborate, to put more work into explaining that further. So collaborate is to work together. Now, you will already be working with people in school in like group work and things, so you may well think, well, I've already got that, I've ticked off that task. That's absolutely fine, but we can always be working at improving these things further. Now, first of all, we're going to discuss our motivation for collaboration. Some people may not find that they need additional motivation to collaborate with people. I'm an extrovert, so I like get loads of energy from spending time with people, from interacting with them. Like, that gives me like a proper buzz and I get excited by it. Some people though are introverts and they feel really drained if they spend a lot of time with people and need to have some me time, so they might be a little bit more reluctant to dive into a situation where it's lots of people talking and lots of people working together. But we all need to do it at some point. So it's about understanding how to manage your time and understanding how to look after yourself in that situation if that's the case. Though you can keep leveling up your skills, you're never going to be the most skilled at everything. So you're going to need to call on other people's skill sets and resources and abilities at times. So if you're an incredible chef, you're still going to have to work with incredible people who run restaurants. You're still going to have to work with incredible suppliers for ingredients. With incredible advertising agencies to make people come to your restaurants, with journalists who come to write about how you're the best chef ever, things like that, right? Nobody can do it all themselves, so you need to collaborate. If you're an electrician, you're going to have to work with carpenters and plumbers and suppliers and so on. Everybody has to work with other people. In teaching, I find that the best lessons are the ones that we come up with in collaborative planning meetings, because each of the teachers in the department has really amazing skills of their own, and then when we bring it together, that means that we've got all of those amazing skills and we kind of balance out each other's areas of like, I don't do so well, somebody else is really strong in that area, nobody's good at everything. So now you know why you need to collaborate, so this is going to motivate you. What about how you develop? Well, collaboration is made up of lots of smaller skills. So for example, you need to be open-minded, because if you go into a meeting with people and you're completely unwilling to hear anything that they're saying, then they're not going to want to listen to you. It's going to be awkward. They'll be fighting. So the first thing, you need to be willing to understand the other person's point of view and accept that that may be correct. But then at the same time, you also need to be confident enough in your own ideas and beliefs that you can stand up for them if you think that they're what's right. So you need to be able to be assertive and show leadership skills. You need to be organised, because if there's lots of people bringing things to the table, then it's just going to be chaos if everybody doesn't know exactly what their part is bringing. You need to have the knowledge and the skills that you're bringing. So obviously you're working with people so that you're all bringing your own skills in. So you need to be confident in your own and have all of the knowledge that you need to have. You need to be able to recognise the strengths in people and yourself, and also recognise the areas where people may need a little help and where you may need a little help. So having the ability to acknowledge that you are not the best at everything and perfect in every way. It's hard sometimes, but you have to accept that. And finally, you need communication, and that is our final word of today. Now, communication is the most desirable of all of the soft skills, because it doesn't matter what else you are good at. If you can't communicate it clearly, what can you do with it? And to start with, let's just point out that communication isn't just talking, okay? This includes your ability to write in emails and stuff, your body language, your tone of voice. All of these things come into communication. So communication is really important, because if you go into, say, a meeting and you have amazing ideas, if you can't express them clearly, you run the risk of those ideas being forgotten or ignored. So that would be a terrible shame, wouldn't it? Yeah, because you want to bring lots of amazing things to the table. You need communication in classroom discussions. You will need it for your interviews for sixth form or university or jobs. You need to communicate when you are going on dates or making friends. Communication comes into all parts of life. But if you aren't really confident and super social, don't worry. It is a skill, and that means that it can be improved over time. I remember the dread that I used to feel in lessons when I had to stand up and read something. Felt awful, whereas now I stand up at the front of the classroom all the time. So as much as it may feel like the worst thing in the world, like when you're young, you can get past that, and confidently communicating is genuinely something that will open up all of the doors for you in life and make things much, much easier. So some things that will help you to communicate are listening. We think of communication as talking, but actually stopping to listen and to actually listen, actively listen to somebody. So where you are paying attention to what they are saying and responding in an appropriate way, maybe by nodding, by making eye contact, showing them that you are paying attention and taking time to make space for them, is such an important part of communication, because nobody wants to be talked at, says the woman who's making a video where she talks to people. I know. But listening is so important. Also, having the correct words to use when you are sharing your information, and this comes down to expanding your vocabulary, reading as much as possible, talking to as many people as possible, just to pick up all those words and fully understand them. And once you've done that, then you can do the next one, which is to be succinct. This is one that I struggle with. So to be succinct is to use the correct words so that you don't need to waffle on, okay? So that you can say things just in the most concise way that you need to. I really struggle with this, and that's why I still need to be working on my communication skills. Also, using the correct language for the situation. So in some situations, you need to be formal. You need to be using really well-structured sentences. You need to not be using any slang. Now, in other situations, it may seem strange if you're really formal. You may need to be a little bit more informal. Some situations you need to be informal because you are thinking, you don't want to be thinking about using the correct terminology. You actually just need to be ranting out loud and speaking like this, fragmented sentences, and that's fine in the right situation if you're brainstorming with people. But if you're presenting something to a room of people, you need to be formal. So it's recognizing the difference between those types of language. And that brings us to the end of this week's words. Now we're going to try the spelling. So I'm going to take them off the screen and I'm going to ask you to spell motivation. And collaboration. And communication. Now I'll put them back on the screen and see that there are 2 L's in collaboration and 2 M's in communication. Both of them are about working with people, so it's like there are 2 because you can only work with people if there's more than one of you. Collaboration has also got that oration, unication in communication. So let's try again. Motivation, collaboration, communication. Check them again. And for the last time, motivation, collaboration, communication. Fantastic, and there they are. And finally, we've got our dual coding and definitions. So remember, we've done dual coding in the past. You're just going to come up with a symbol that would remind you of this word that you're going to place next to the word and its definition. So if you can think of a little something that is going to always remind you of motivation, maybe it's something that personally motivates you, maybe it's just the idea of motivation, it makes you think of a certain symbol. Collaboration, maybe you're going to want something with two people working together, but just really simple. Remember, it needs to be something that you can just sketch down quickly. And communication, so maybe something with a mouth or a pen, I don't know, whatever makes you think of communication. So if you create your symbol, if you put the word next to it and a definition in your own words. And with that, that brings us to the end of this week's video. So it was lovely to see you again, or have you see me, and I will speak to you again next week. Thank you for joining us for another week on Macamo Literacy. If you enjoy starting with a word and then ending up in a rambling journey to who knows where, then I suggest that you hit like and subscribe. Also, if you just want to be a pal, like and subscribe. See you next week.